so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 97, Metalcade 2020. With the Juice, which is myself, on the line today, all the way from Florida, is Tony. Don't call him Dr. Weinbender. Oh, a little G.I. Joe reference for you cats sitting there listening. Did I say that right, the last name?
Hell yeah.
Right.
You actually got it right, man. Instead of like most people, they just go like, Mr. Weinberger. I'm like, no, it's wine and then bender, man. Just like I do every weekend. Go on a bender, man.
Yeah, I'm about to feel that bender right now. This will be my third day straight of kicking it with some brewskis, and I ain't talking about Teddy.
I'm still recovering from our Sunday Royal Rumble party.
Oh man, the Royal Rumble, dude. It was actually watchable this year.
Yeah, we always have a good time. We get a bunch of crew together, a bunch of people that help, run Fest Wrestling, and family and friends, and we always do squares. Throw some, cheap bets on it. Always makes it entertaining. I mean, fuck, it's the only time you can literally bet on pro wrestling. But yeah, we got into the liquor, and buddy brought a bunch of Keystone Lights, which I probably haven't drank in like forever. So,
yeah. That's some.
Yesterday was a little rough.
That's a beer pong beer right there.
Yeah, it was that. Plus, between that, it's like everybody's like, we drink real cheaply down here in Gainesville, Florida. But it's mainly like a PBR town.
Oh, I gotcha.
But now that the hard seltzers are out too, you get like some buds. You stick to the traditional light, cheap, suitcase of beer, and then you got your buds who are like, dude, these were BOGO at Publix, which is our grocery store here, and they're like rolling in with hard ciders. I mean, not ciders, seltzers. So between that and the little bit of, tequila we were drinking, we had a good time. Let's put it that way.
Oh, hell yeah. And for everybody out there listening, Tony is the man behind, one of the men behind Fest Wrestling in Florida. And on April 4th, they're going to be putting on a metal and wrestling spectacular called Metalcade 2020. So before we tear into that, though, Tony, everybody out there listening needs to know what Fest Wrestling is all about, where you guys came from, and we'll go from there, brother.
Oh, cool. Well, Fest Wrestling started up last September. We celebrated our 3 years of doing it. It kind of came from, I've been doing punk shows, hardcore shows, metal shows pretty much half my life. I just turned 44. Kind of started doing that stuff when I was 15, 16, out of the necessity of living in a small little Botetourt County outside of Roanoke, Virginia, and playing in a weird, punk ska hybrid band. And
nice.
We didn't have, there was only like maybe 5, 6 bands in the town. So like after so long, you can only play with the same band. So we all started getting together in the mid 90s and like trying to book shows for other bands. So I've been doing that for a long time. I worked at a record label called No Idea Records here in Gainesville for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then for this will be 19 years coming up, I put on a multiple venue, punk, hardcore, metal, indie, Americana, comedy, and now wrestling music festival called The Fest. So when we started doing wrestling, it kind of just was a no-brainer just to brand it as Fest Wrestling. So people knew it was kind of coming from the punk hardcore, DIY ethics scene. And so we just kind of like didn't really know what we were doing, but just went for it because we loved wrestling and we loved our scene and our community and wanted to offer something. Gainesville the only wrestling we ever got to come through here was like NXT would run at like a little like town center once in Blue Moon, which was awesome. But there wasn't like indie stuff coming through. And here in Florida, it's everywhere. I mean, there's so many goddamn indie promotions. So we started going out of town and going and seeing like Evolve and Shimmer and or Shine, I should call it.
Shimmer and Shine.
It's Shimmer in some places, it's Shine in some places.
Right.
But it was Shine. And realizing that the indie scene is much just like the indie scene in music. When you go to see a big concert, you don't get to like, when you go to buy a t-shirt, you're not talking to the band, you're fucking talking to a merch person, maybe if you're lucky, of the band.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's a hawker who's selling it and price matching and doesn't give a fuck. But with, indie bands, and you go see a hardcore band, usually it's them sitting behind the table and you get to have a one-on-one reaction with them. That money you're giving them goes right directly to them, goes to a gas tank, goes to their belly, it helps them directly. And we kind of like realize that that's how the indie scene was once you get out of the WWF, stronghold of things. The indie wrestling scene was very much similar. And so you start talking to people on a one-on-one basis. And so when we started trying to do wrestling, it was kind of a lot easier to branch out directly to people and just say, hey, we're going to start doing this. Are you interested? And luckily we had a few crossover wrestlers that had been coming to our music festival who were very knowledgeable and knew a lot of people too. So it was kind of just like how we book bands. Like, you book one person and they're like, hey, well, I've got a friend who's interested, and it's trial and error. Just like, nobody taught us how to do shows when we first started, so every time we do a wrestling show, we're still learning, but the ultimate goal is to be able to provide a fun, awesome, different kind of product. Our wrestling shows are always intergender. This Metalcade will be the first time we've ever had a seated section. We never have barricades or anything. Like, everybody's just around the ring. Everybody's very respectful to the wrestlers and the space that the wrestlers need. And the wrestlers are very respectful to like roll out and fucking go fucking crazy in this weird saloon that we do the shows in. And they just kind of like go crazy throughout the whole place. So it's kind of awesome. But we've been doing it for several years now. This will be the second. We've done out-of-town shows a couple of times, but this will be like our biggest out-of-town production with doing this thing on Mania weekend called Metalcade.
Yeah, Tampa, Florida, April 4th, Cigar City Brewing. Is that going to be do you guys broadcast or stream anywhere?
No, when we film our shows, we do a 3-camera angle. We have commentary. My buddy Max from Pittsburgh comes down, Max Gregg. He does half the commentary, and the other half of our commentary team is Rich Bocchini.
Yeah, I know
who
Rich.
Was
he
in
does
NXT for a long time.
Yeah, he also does Warrior Wrestling up here in Chicago Heights, and
yes, he does.
And MLW. I've been to several of their shows.
Yep. Yeah. Rich is also trying to get into, like, I think the sports commentary in hockey real bad.
Oh yeah,
he wants to do it so bad. But Rich is a good friend, and he was like one of those guys who, like, when he was doing NXT, we would talk like after the shows just about bullshit about music and stuff. And he was very interested in the fest. And so when we started doing fest wrestling, we did like one show with no commentary. And he was like, hey, man, like, how was your show? And I was like, it was a lot of fun, but, man, I'd really love to do commentary. Would you be interested? And he's like, oh, man, I don't do that shit anymore. And I was like, fuck you, man, just do it. And so we kind of brought him out of retirement and got him to do it. And now he's moved to Gainesville, Florida, and lives here with some of my buddies who help out with fest wrestling and stuff. And, he's really kind of like got back into it full force,
Yeah, he's a good get,
so
man.
It's awesome to be able to, like, not only have a platform for independent wrestlers to come through, but also give Rich a platform to come back out and do it. He's a great commentator. Like, he's passionate about the business, and just kind of like had a raw deal in the WWE platform. I mean, you could have him on the show and he can tell you all kinds of shit. He's not scared to talk to biz. I have nothing bad to say about WWE because I've never had to work for them or any just real reactions to them.
Yeah.
So
only as a fan.
I mean, a fan thing, it's only the bad things for me is like, kind of like, come on, this sucks sometimes, you know, or, we would go to NXT house shows and we still go to support those shows and buy tickets, and hang out, and it's a good opportunity for us to flyer locally outside the shows. But then, like, since they brought NXT up and they're doing, like, the A show and the B show. So here in Florida, like, while, you might get a fucking crazy awesome show up there, we might get like the B squad down here in our little MLK center.
Right.
So sometimes we've seen some of the most amazing stuff. And then sometimes you're like, oh, come on, man. Why are you dragging these guys? They're not even ready to be in the ring. Like, it's like, but for the most part, it's still rad that there's wrestling going on and that they're bringing it, in here. So.
Oh, for sure. So you guys, so do you put out like DVDs or anything like or
No, we don't do the streaming because we honestly, the internet in the facility that we do it at is like horrible.
terrible? Yeah.
The venue we've been doing it was called 8 Seconds. So it is it has a balcony. It's about an 800 capacity, kind of honky tonk type place.
Right.
I use it as a music venue when we do the music festival. And we'll pack about 800 to 1,000 people in there, and then we use it for wrestling. And then about every other month, we do our own like wrestling show, usually on a Sundays. And so the internet's just kind of shitty in there. So we'll just put it out in post. And so on YouTube, you'll find a lot of our content on Fest Wrestling off of YouTube. We put a lot of our matches up there throughout the years. And then we put the full show edit up on this thing called Pivot Share.
Okay.
So it's a 3 camera angle. I think Christian Costello, who does our camera work and editing, does an amazing job. We do a lot of color correcting in it. Scotty Swimba, who does all of our video motion graphics stuff, he lives in Pittsburgh now. He adds a lot to the format. So the format's great. I just never was interested in getting the DVDs. I think kind of like the DVD. I just don't want to get stuck with a bunch of fucking DVDs in my house.
I talked to Joseph Samael about that too, like with PCW Ultra, and it's like, well, really same deal. You don't want to get stuck with them. And with Warrior Wrestling, they have like the Blu-ray and the DVD and stuff. And I'd be a liar if I told you I knew how much they really sell. And it is. I really kind of hate saying it's a dying platform, but it really is, man, because everybody just
I think now that
wants to
everything streams now, like
I mean,
we don't get our streaming
dead.
live, but it's through this company called Pivot Share. So for those of people that live on the East Coast, most people are probably really familiar with High Spots.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
North Carolina.
They work with Warrior.
You can subscribe to the High Spots network. I think it's like $10 a month.
Yep.
And then through Pivot Share, you get all the stuff that High Spots puts out, and we're one of the featured products on there too. So with that subscription, you get all of our content.
Nice.
But if you just want to subscribe to us, it's like $4.99 a month. And then you get all the companies that we work with, which are also on the High Spots network. So like Joey Ryan's promotion, Bar Wrestling,
yep.
Defy, we have their shows on our channel. We have Progress on our channel. So like we get the stats back from it. And the main viewership we get from the Pivot Share platform is through High Spots. And then once Progress picked us up in the UK, it went nuts. It went so much bigger. So that's for me was like a huge accomplishment. The fact that oh shit, there's people in the UK watching this, which is awesome. And I think we're seeing that too with the ticket sales for Metalcade, because it's Mania weekend. There's people that for 3 years might have been watching Fest Wrestling, and there's no way they'll ever see that shit live. We're not going to the UK,
right?
So,
and you guys are putting on something.
I'll go if somebody wants to pay for it.
Yeah, fuck yeah, let's fly, brother. I
Let's go hang out, man. Fish and chips, man. I'm all about it.
Fish and chips.
But it's just it'll be cool that weekend because it's Mania weekend. Everybody's here, from all over the world. It's like Tampa's going to be going nuts. I'm trying to explain it to the people that run the brewery. They have no idea how big it's going to be. They're just like, oh, you want to do a metal show and wrestling? Cool. And we're like, you don't understand. There's 20,000+ people are going to be in town from all over the world, and they all love wrestling.
Yeah, and that bar will be making some fucking cash that night,
Oh, it's the best. I mean, as far as if you're a beer nerd, Cigar City is one of the best breweries in all of Florida.
Nice.
Not to talk any difference on our Gainesville breweries, but Cigar City's product is great. The facility's awesome. There's a whole inside, but we're doing the shows outside. We're bringing in a big ass stage I use for my main stage for our music festival, and we're dropping that motherfucker in there.
Fuck yeah.
So it's gonna be full sound lights. We're gonna have the ring on the opposite side of the giant industrial parking area. It's not even the parking lot. It's just where the trucks come in to pick up all the supplies and roll out. So there's loading docks. It's going to look real metal, real industrial.
Nice. Have you guys, so is this the first time that Metalcade has happened, or have you guys done this?
So I wanted to do of course, I've been wanting to do a Fest Wrestling show Mania weekend since like we started it.
Right.
It's like the goal was like, fuck, there's other people here, and it's been really hard for us to get shows. We've asked to be on like collective shows and things like that, and it was either like,
Really?
oh, well, maybe, I don't know, like you're not big enough yet, or it was a straight up like, okay, well, starting bid is $5,000.
Oh, eat a fat
and I'm
dick.
like, first, you just said starting bid. Second, who the fuck has $5,000 to throw to be on a show, and then I got to pay talent as well?
Yeah,
like that's just ridiculous. Fucking crazy. So once it became in Florida in our backyard, the first mission for me, I was like, I was going to do a show, and since Tampa's 2 hours away, I did 6 years of a music festival in Tampa called Pre-Fest. We did leading up to the music festival Fest that we do every year at the end of October. So I know all the venues in Ybor, which is a section of Tampa. A lot of the stuff that's running that weekend is running in Ybor. It's a cool, historic Cuban district. It's like New Orleans and Cuban vibe, like going right at each other in the middle of Florida. And so I was going to do it like a small, like punk bar that we normally do at, but then I hit up my friend Tony Foresta, who sings in Municipal Waste. Yeah. We're old buds. He's from Richmond, and he's moving to the Tampa area. Like, by the time this comes out, he'll have already moved down. So I was like, dude, like, you're into wrestling. We should just do something together, and like maybe your other band, Iron Reagan, can play.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck that. I'm good buddies with one of the guys that runs Cigar City Brewery. Let's talk to him and let's go balls to the wall. And so we sat down with Justin from Cigar City Brewery, went through a list of bands we thought. They entrusted me to do all the wrestling stuff and the production side of it. Mm-hmm. And then I let them kind of like pick the bands. I had some suggestions of bands, but it didn't.
Was Integrity in there?
Didn't work out.
Was Integrity one of those bands?
Integrity was not on our list, but that would have been a good choice.
Oh yeah, I figure a hardcore.
But we ended up with everybody kind of agreed on Obituary because Obituary is from Tampa.
Well, yeah, you're talking about old school legendary death metal from Tampa back in like the Scott Burns days when you had like Deicide and Cannibal Corpse and Obituary, which is one of my favorite bands. Our band Handsome Prick, we played with them a couple years ago at the Full Terror Assault. What a great fucking choice, dude! Like. Fucking Obituary, I don't care. The hell yeah,
dude. I can't take any credit for it. You can give me the credit for when it sounds good and the stage looks awesome.
Hey, man, yeah. But you know what? It's your fucking show, and to have that to me solidifies. Like, I seen that, and I'm like, fuck, man, there's, I got a kid due around that time. There's no way I'm going to be able to attend, but I was like, if I can help these dudes out in any way to get the word out about this, because this is, your guys' whole mentality is like the same as mine, coming like underground metal punk kid that loved wrestling. They do mix and they do cross over, and that's like the whole thing I try to preach on my show is, the wrestling is literally everywhere. You can have a conversation about almost anything, and it can lead into professional wrestling. It's and what you guys are doing. I saw Obituary, and I fucking marked out. I love John Tardy and those guys, man. They're fucking legends, dude. So score for you. And you guys got Municipal Waste, Bloodlet, and Nasty Savage. Like, yeah, good for you guys.
Dude, I wasn't even familiar with the whole history of Nasty Savage, about Nasty Ronnie and stuff. Like him being an old pro wrestler and breaking TVs across his chest and shit. And then Foresta started telling me about it and showing me shit. And I was like, oh my God. And then, talking with other old Florida wrestling people, they're like, oh my God, I cannot believe this is happening. So it's like, within Florida metal scene and wrestling scene, that's really cool. But at the same time, like you were talking about it, man, like wrestling and metal kind of go hand in hand. And if you're passionate about either or both, we're all nerds, man. And when you get us together and get us talking about it and reminiscing and talking about this album and this band or this match or this pay-per-view or this time period and this, everybody has an opinion. Everybody can embrace those things. And we're just hoping that, out of the thousands of people that are there for Mania weekend, that a small portion of them like Fest Wrestling and like metal, and hopefully both can get crossed over and expose maybe some to each other. Because I know there's definitely people that are coming for Fest Wrestling who are like, I don't know who the fuck these bands are. And I know there's going to be people in the Tampa scene who are going to be like, I'm going to see Obituary.
Yeah.
Oh, there's wrestling. What the fuck? Holy shit!
Yeah.
And the rad thing is, like, because we're doing this, we've gotten a lot of, our whole Fest Wrestling family, which is very, very big.
Mm-hmm.
We do shows every other month, and we try to bring in people. We have like a solid crew of people that, participate in Fest Wrestling every show. And then there's like a rotating cast of people that come in like, a couple of times a year because they live so fucking far away. But this show enabled us to like open the doors up a little bit more. So we have just like a massive stacked show. I think there's like something like over 60 wrestlers now involved in this damn thing.
In the Metalcade?
Yeah. So it's going to be an all day melee, and I keep getting emails from people asking, and I had to cut it off. I've been like, there's no more room on this. And it sucks because some of these people are like, holy shit, you're kind of a big name, but I just don't have room. Sorry, but I'm going to have to put you on a backup list.
Yeah. And
because it is wrestling, shit's going to happen. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yep.
Somebody's going to get signed. Somebody's just not going to fucking make it.
Yeah.
So there will be changes, but hopefully there won't be much, and I'm just stoked that we're able to put on this opportunity and go fucking nuts. I mean, when people see what we do compared to, like, they're going to be going to a lot of stuff that weekend.
Yeah.
And that's what the cool thing about Mania Weekend is, WrestleMania is the Super Bowl. It's the big show, but there's so much good indie stuff that weekend that you can almost like go to all that stuff, see amazing talent, some stuff from all over the world that you'll never get to see, and not even go to Mania. Last 2 years we didn't even go. We just go to the indie shows, and I'd rather take like my money and pepper it out through a bunch of really awesome things than dump one big wad and
don't
set
put all
fucking
your eggs
goddamn way up in the air and watch WrestleMania on a giant jumbotron.
Oh yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think that's the one thing, since like the indie wrestling boomer, or the resurgence of pro wrestling in general, whatever you want to call it, it's been really cool because that hasn't always happened with Mania. Fuck, man, I think the last WrestleMania I went to was WrestleMania 8 in Indianapolis. Like Sid versus Hogan, Macho Man versus Flair, and Piper versus Bret Hart. But the old school days like that, there was nothing like this that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but even go back 10 years ago, and you didn't have. It's really kind of a more recent thing that, okay, WrestleMania now is. You are right. It is the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. Just in the draw from worldwide that it brings, like there really is nothing that can compare to that in the entertainment industry. I don't care if you got fucking Paul McCartney at Wrigley Field or whatever. It ain't shit. When these guys are selling out, what is it, the Texas Stadium or wherever the Cowboys play, it's like 100,000 people. I mean, that's people from all over the world. They are a global entertainment, like they have a stronghold on that shit, and they're good, but at the same time, it's like you say, I don't want to go sit in some nosebleeds and watch it on the Jumbotron just to say I was there. And let's face it, dude, the last several WrestleManias, it's been like drawn out. It's kind of a little boring. You're only invested really, I know myself, in like maybe a couple matches. It's so much better to go to these unique indie promotions that are doing all this stuff. Like, you guys and the collective Impact has got some cool shit going on. They're bringing back TNA for one day,
Yeah, I'm stoked on it. I mean, I went to the Impact show last year.
Nice. That was a good show.
Before that, we went to Ring of Honor. Last year, I went to NXT because I'd never been to like a big takeover outside of when they did the small ones in Orlando, and that was awesome. It's just, the thing is a lot of those people, you're going to see a lot of talent at the indie shows.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is a lot of these talents are exceptional. And then the next year, you're going to see them signed to AEW, Ring of Honor, or NXT. It's true. It happens every single year. I mean, hell, half the fucking people that we used to have wrestle for Fest Wrestling moved on. Our first champ was Heidi Lovelace.
Yep.
She became Ruby Riott. She had to drop belt like 2 shows in because she got signed to NXT. I mean, Shotzi Blackheart, who just came out in the Royal Rumble, who's in NXT right now. Shotzi was just wrestling. She was supposed to be on her November show, and she just had to bail because she just got signed. We've had a lot of people come up, and that's one of the cool things about it. Is like I get bummed because I don't get to have that interaction or to have the perform on our shows anymore.
Mhm.
But that is way, slightly compared to the joy we feel that they get to move on and that they're finally getting the recognition that they fucking well deserve.
Yeah, and it's a thing too, especially for these guys to go. Like again, let's go back 10 years. WWE had it in their mindset when they're the only game in town that we're just going to hire people, whether they're athletes or models or whatever, and no experience or some experience, and they're going to train them in their way, which is, they still kind of somewhat do some of that. But now there was this thing back then, the stigma of hiring like indie darlings. They didn't want to do it. Like CM Punk was a big chance, and from what I understand, it took like Paul Heyman to really get him in there. But nowadays, dude, they've deviated from that. And yes, they still train them in the WWE way of doing things, and they'll take guys and put them in the performance center and what have you. But, dude, the indie pool is so rich in talent. It's crazy because go ahead. And it's great for the talent, the boys and gals signing. That's awesome for them and their families and their careers. But as soon as they sign, the way it is nowadays, man, there's another 3 or 4 that are just coming up and taking that spot. That's like how star-packed the indie scene is. Crazy, man.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that attributed to more opportunity, but also there's just more really good schools now.
Yes.
And so people are learning the proper way. And so you have people that are like, it used to be like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't go to the right shows, but for a long time until I started going to like Evolve shows and before NXT was like really coming out and doing more stuff, it seemed like the indie stuff that at least I was seeing was full of shows that were like a bunch of people that were still in school.
Yeah.
And that they got put on the show because the person running the school was doing the show, and then mixed with a bunch of old timers that were just shouldn't be wrestling anymore. Who were on the bill just because you're like, oh, you have a name and we know.
You'll
it's
put
more of
10
like
asses in the
to
seats.
meet your old idol. And so if like an indie wrestling just seemed like such like a like fuck this, you go to like the state fair and see like shit like that.
Yeah.
But it changed. It really did change. I mean, I'm talking like when we were like in college in Virginia in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was. Where you're like, oh, wrestling is coming through once a year. Who's on it? Oh, Doink 1 and Doink 2. And it wasn't even like the Doinks. It was just some other people like, it was like, this is just sad, but entertaining. Let's go drink a 40 and let's go watch this.
OE.
OE was a $1.09 when I was in college, my friend.
Got to keep a gangster represent that Easy E.
it was easy on the wallet. That's why we were doing
that too.
But it really has changed. We've had great people come through. Fest Wrestling. And it wasn't that we groomed them or anything. We were just lucky that they were able to come through and wrestle for us and been awesome. And I wouldn't be surprised if by time we come around to Metalcade, I'm going to lose a few more people that are going to get signed to stuff. And that's awesome. I'm stoked for them, But like you said, there's a bunch of other folks coming up. And on our show, we're going to have people that we've worked with forever that we're super excited. But then there's also a shitload of debuts. There are people coming from like all over.
Yeah.
So for our fans, this might be the only opportunity we're going to be able to get some of these people. And it's just because they're all going to be in Tampa.
Yeah.
If any other time, it'd be like, oh, you want to come wrestle for Fest Wrestling? Cool. And they'd be like, okay, well, you need to fly us in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, Gainesville has a shitty airport, so I can't do that. So, and you'd think like, because there's so many indie promotions in Florida that we would all be able to talk to each other and be like, hey, okay, so I'm going to run my show on Sunday. You run on Saturday and you run on Friday. And let's bring these people into Florida and then work them 3 days in a row. No, that doesn't happen. It's just this weird, there's some people that are really cool to work with and we all try to share and work together. And then there's certain people that just really are just competitive about this. And it's like,
oh, I know. Like they're the only game in town or
fighting
something.
Over the same fucking,
the same
30,
goal.
40 fucking fans, you know?
And when you do that, I mean, it doesn't benefit anybody. You guys are just fucking, well, not you guys, but I'm saying in general, the people that do that, you're just fucking the whole scene. You could bring in this talent.
There's just
a
too
lot
much
of that
going on.
Yeah, there's some of that up here, I should say, in the Chicagoland. You'll have that, whatever. I mean,
yeah.
Fuck it.
I mean, Florida's just got too many.
Yeah,
It's just too many things. There's just there's too much wrestling. The good thing is in Gainesville, we're the only thing in Gainesville. But you would think like, because we're here with the University of Florida, which is fucking huge. It's the fucking Gators, that we would have like all these college kids that would want to come see wrestling, but they don't, like, because they look at it and they're just like, oh, that's not WWE.
Exactly.
So they don't come. So it's like, 3 years we haven't really tapped in that. We tapped more into like the fucking punk thrash like grind scene more than anything.
Yes.
I've had more luck like going to like crazy hardcore shows and been like flyering for Fest Wrestling, and they'd be like, oh fuck yeah, dude, I remember that time we went blah blah. So when we first started out, we would, instead of having like intermission and having like where everybody takes a break and everybody goes out for a smoke, we would have bands like a punk band play on the floor for like
that's
20
awesome.
minutes.
That's fucking,
and so
dude, that's awesome.
Everybody just, instead of facing the ring, turned around and like had like a floor house show. And so that worked really well for a while, but it got to the point where it was like, well, shit, we're trying to fit in more wrestling. So it was like, we really couldn't afford the time to like break that in. So this is kind of like having this Metalcade as us throwing it back to like, okay, we're going to have a show too.
Yeah.
So we're going to do like 40 minutes of wrestling, band on the main stage, and then 40 minutes of wrestling, band on the main stage. So we'll do 4 blocks of wrestling and 4 bands.
Dude, I love that because, being a grindcore kid, I played a lot of shows, dude, where there was bands that they'd have like the versus set, like whether it was 2 bands straight up going against each other, like, all right, you're going to play one of your songs, and then immediately right after that, they're going to counter with another, and it goes back and forth like that. Or there's certain fests that are set up specifically like that, where it's like one band plays like 3 songs, and then immediately or whatever their time length of their set, and then they already have the next stage set up. They kick to that, and then while, they're playing, they're breaking down, setting up for the next band, it's just continually like fucking blasting your eyes and ears off, man. I like that, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no rest at our show for Metalcade. I mean,
no rest for the
it's
wicked,
basically
brother.
like two big stages. The stage is the ring, and then the other stage is a fucking huge drop down stage that's getting
fucking
shipped in.
Obituary, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. It's gonna, and hopefully, Metalcade does really well, and it's something that we can do like every year. It doesn't have to be during like WrestleMania.
Right.
We could just go to a city and be like, hey, you know what we're doing? We're doing Metalcade.
Yeah.
It's gonna be wrestling, and it doesn't have to be Fest Wrestling. It could be like if we're in Chicago working with like freelance,
I love freelance,
or somebody, and like saying like, okay, let's do it here. It doesn't have to be just always involved around Fest.
Oh yeah, dude. And you talked to anybody out there from up here, I should say, from freelance, Matt Nix or any of those guys?
Yeah, we've had Nick's down here and freelance thing. We do a thing during during our music festival every year when we do our wrestling show during it. It's called We Are Family. Nice. And so basically, instead of putting ourselves over, we try to put over other indie products that we like. So we'll have awesome people from Defy, and we'll have people from freelance in. Eric Cannon, who's a good friend of ours, does First Wrestling in Minneapolis. So we'll have First stuff come down. We've tried to like help as much as we can, like other promotions that have been cool to us too. And some of those have been really rad, and like have Effy's been like our champ for a while.
He's great.
If you're not familiar with Effy, look up on YouTube, Effy Wrestling.
I grabbed his bloody junk before.
Be blown. But a lot of those promotions will let, when Effy was our champ, he is now, but when he was first our champ, the first time around, they were like asking him to come up and defend the Fest title, and that was really rad to see our stuff getting taken around. Like when Sue Young was our champ, she defended the championship in a lot of places. And it's just rad. It helps everybody understand that like, hey, this is a really rad product, but there's other rad product out there and all over. And just the internet. Once you like get back into indie wrestling, you go down that fucking rabbit hole of YouTube. Yeah. Like, it's just like getting into music and something, or somebody exposes you to like a genre of music and you just start going for it and just, going to the record store and buying records or going down YouTube now. It's just that same mentality, that same thing, man. And it's really awesome that we're able to like bridge these worlds between wrestling promotions, and then now hopefully bridge that gap too with bands as well.
And that's great, dude. I mean, me personally, just listening to your ideas and you talk, I mean, I think this, like you said, it doesn't have to be WrestleMania season, around there, but it could be your guys' WrestleMania. Like, this is the show you guys build to every year, like this big blast.
When we do our We Are Family show, it's awesome because, our music festival is like more like punks and stuff like that.
Nice.
And, we only sell 3,000 tickets. We try to cap it at that because we also have 300 and some bands and like over 100 wrestlers. Mm-hmm. So when we do our wrestling show, then it's like we do like 4 1-hour blocks, but the whole place is the most packed it's ever been. You were talking about 800 to 1,000 fans in the room for all the wrestlers. So it's a great opportunity when we're able to bring people in from out of town. It's like, hey, not only do you get to wrestle for Fest Wrestling, but hey, this is a great exposure for you because some of these people might be from your area or might be into the next town that you go to.
Yeah. It's networking, kids. Try it sometime. Be polite.
Yeah, just don't fucking always try to make yourself like the biggest shit. It's awesome to help other people. You get more help that way.
Well, you do, and you get over more doing that. That's how you get bigger. When you're just real and you're cool with people, it goes a long way, man. It goes a long way.
Yeah, nobody asks back the asshole.
No shit, brother.
Oh man, you know what? That guy was great. He came in, he wrestled for us, and he was a total dick to everybody. Yeah. Let's get him back.
Bring back the dick, Joey Ryan. No, the fucking asshole.
No, Joey Ryan's he's not a dick.
No, he's a very, very nice guy. He's got the dick. He's got the dick. So talk about a little bit more talent. You mentioned Effy, who is fucking amazing. I see him.
He's our current Fest Wrestling champ, but he has a big match coming up soon. We also do our normal Fest Wrestling show on Sunday, February 16th. So
what do you got going on there?
It's our 4th Love is a Battlefield.
Yes, I love that.
So that's our tag team tournament. So we've been doing that for a while. So if you're just listening to this and you're like, what the fuck? Just go on YouTube, type in Fest Wrestling Love is a Battlefield, and there's lots of good stuff in there. It seems like a lot of our shows are themed around holidays. So we do like an Easter show called The Hardcore Hunt.
Nice.
Which is an extreme Easter egg match. Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
We're actually going to probably do that match at Metalcade. So those of you who will be there for Metalcade will get to see that live, which is fucking insane. I can't believe we came up with this concept. Basically, there's giant paper mache eggs filled with weapons, and they're hidden out in the crowd. And then there's 8 to 10 wrestlers in the ring blindfolded, and they have to sit like in a circle.
Yeah.
And then when the blindfolds come off, they just start battling, and they have to find the eggs and use them. What's inside of them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we do that. We do an Xmas in July show, which is a Christmas themed summer bash type show. I mean, we've done way too many weird things. But Love is a Battlefield's coming up, and
where can people get
defending
tickets?
against Wolf Taylor in Gainesville, Florida. And so we'll see if Effy's star champ, but currently he is the champ. If you catch this after February 16th, you can always look on Fest Wrestling YouTube or Fest Wrestling on Pivot Share. There's my shameless plugs.
Plug away.
But yeah, look at our stuff. Share it.
Yeah, we got some listeners down in Florida, man. Where can people get tickets at for this? What did you say, February 16th?
February 16th. If you go to festwrestling.com, we go through a really small indie ticketing company called Limited Run.
Okay.
And we love using Limited Run. That's how we can get the tickets for Metalcade too, because they're it's just 2 guys that live in New York that come up from the punk scene, and they only charge $1 service charge per ticket.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's fuck that like Ticketmaster shit. I just bought tickets to, I'm not going to say what promotion, and it was like, oh, the tickets are fucking $40, and then the service fees an additional $20.
Oh yeah, well that's with even going to see some of these bands, man. It's fucking outrageous.
Yeah, so we lose a little bit on the fact that like we don't have a big conglomerate like reminding people of our shows. But I'd rather not jab the attendee, man.
Hey, man.
I'd rather them take that extra money to be able to buy a cold one or buy a shirt from somebody.
Right. That is right, man. Hey, and I'll promote anything you guys got going on anytime.
Thanks.
Yeah. So you guys got Effy, but you also got a couple of guys that I'm very familiar with. I see them up here whenever they're up here, chill with them. Dan Hausen and
Dan Hausen's coming back,
dude.
He was in Fest Wrestling in the very early days, but he wasn't Dan Hausen then.
Right.
So it's awesome to finally have him back. He's bringing War Beast with him.
Warhorse,
sorry, not War Beast. Jesus.
That's all right. A War Beast would be dope too, you know. Fatu
I
and
know.
It's all right. We all botch sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, they're coming. They're bringing who's coming with
Jake
them?
something. I thought I saw.
Yeah. Jake something. So both of them are going to be new for us.
Yeah, and dude, those are guys we were talking earlier, and I'm not to cut you off, Tony, but about guys about the talent recycling itself, and like you're saying, hey, by the time you run this fest, you may have to pull, your backups or something because these guys will be gone. These are like those three, Dan Hausen, Effy, and Warhorse. It's like are three talents that in 2020 watch what the hell these guys do, and Jake something, Warhorse is fucking amazing to see what Jake Parnell has done to go from being just Jake Parnell to the Warhorse is it's great, dude. I just saw him at Black Label Pro against Kylie Ray. Fucking amazing, dude.
I saw the promo he cut for that with the egg and the crowbar.
Oh, yeah,
that was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, dude, they did something out of like Dirty Dancing. They reenacted during the match that dance scene, and it was fucking great, dude. They told a good story.
Awesome.
And Kylie Ray, who is a huge star around these parts, dude, the crowd was split. And it was weird. And Warhorse, when he gets in the ring, he even looked like kind of like at her, like, holy shit. He didn't see that coming. He's probably expecting he's going to be working the heel in that match, and it was like Warrior versus Hogan or something. You had two babies going at it, and it was great and it was entertaining. And that guy, dude, he's a really cool dude, and all of them are, but Warhorse is one to watch. And I guarantee you, I've interacted with a couple of guys who run a video game company called RetroSoft Studios. So shout out to Mike Herman who's doing that. And they have this indie tournament going on. And there's 4 guys left as of right now. Well, by the time people listen, it'll probably be announced. But Warhorse is in the final 4. He's my pick to win. And if he doesn't win it and you guys listen to this and say I was wrong, fuck off, whatever. This guy is the real deal. Pay attention.
Dude, I'm stoked because he was one of the first people, him and Dan Hausen, Dan Hausen has a history with us, so it was awesome. When he moved away, it was really hard to get him to come back to Florida. We just couldn't afford it. So when Tampa came up, it was awesome. And that was one of the first things I was like, hey, Warhorse is your buddy. He is tailor fit for this show.
Exactly, dude. He'll love it.
He was stoked because he's a huge Municipal Waste fan.
Right.
So it worked out perfect. And then like other things that popped up, like, like somebody who we've always had our eye on but lived far away is Matthew Justice.
Yes, Thrash. Yeah, he's awesome.
Dude, he is amped on this. Like, but the hard thing is a lot of these wrestlers are on multiple shows. They're just trying to do as much as they can that weekend.
Dan Hausen.
So with our show being kind of long, it's kind of like some of them, even Effy has his big gay brunch that morning, is going to have to run over to our show and then leave after our show and go straight over to Joey Ryan's penis party. So it's like it's like boom, boom, boom.
Like a good time.
And a lot of those wrestlers are doing that. They're like running back and forth. So as far as logistically planning all the matches, it's been really hard to coordinate with everybody and be like, okay, check it. I think your match is going to be around this time. Are you free around this time? Whatnot, and then you have to coordinate that with somebody else who you're going to try to,
Dude,
they're going to have a match with.
It's a good headache to have, brother, but I wouldn't want your headache, man. It's so like
it's kind of like my bag, man. I do. This is wrestling thing is one thing, but like running a music festival where there's 18 venues all in walking distance of each other and 360 some bands, and then each band has multiple members. We've been doing that for 19 years, so I kind of that I have to take it. It's my gig, man. So I feel like I'm really good at this side of it.
Well, that's good, man. So, I mean, because you were just naming all those events, I mean, shit, Dan Hausen and Warhorse have the WrestleVania. That's like their event that's happening.
Yeah. I think that's like maybe that same night at midnight or the night before at midnight. I always get it fucking mixed up when they do like midnight shows.
I think it's a midnight show. That's a Black Label joint, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the cool thing. It's like the brewery, I think, is like 7 miles away from like the Cuban Club where a lot of that stuff's going on, or the Ritz, where a lot of the stuff's going on. So I personally am screwing myself by doing a show for the first time.
Yeah.
Like I wrote, some buddies, and I was like, man, this is probably the first year I'm not going to your show. It sucks. One of my favorite shows to go to Mania weekend is Sammy Callahan puts on Pancakes and Pile Drivers.
Yep.
And it's an early daytime show, and it happens to be on the same fucking day we're doing ours. Granted, it's at 11 a.m. So, but I'll be fucking setting shit up and like tweaking everything. Like we're going on Friday and having to set up the infrastructure, because not only do we have to do this whole show, but we're having to build out fence line, do sandbags, put up scrim, which is the covering stuff for fencing, like arrange porta potties, like put up tenting, run power, lights. Like we don't have like a production team we're going to hire. This is going to be all DIY, just us fucking putting it on.
I love that though.
So,
man. That's fucking kudos.
But it sucks because I kind of ruined my Mania weekend for me.
Well, whatever, but I feel like this is the start of something, really good for you guys. So
let's hope so. Let's hope that enough people come out where we don't lose our fucking asses on it.
Right? Well, you got to have some guys, like some buddies or some, at least going with, talking DIY, old punk shit, whatever, with some fucking flyers while these other shows are going on. Just flyer it up.
Oh, 100%. I'm hoping that Friday we get our shit done early enough to where we can actually go out Friday night and go to a show and hang out. I mean, Janela's got his spring break going on the night before.
Oh, and that's going to be huge. I think he's got Osprey on that show too.
No. Yeah. The Offspring?
No, not Offspring. I said Osprey. Will Osprey.
Oh, I just said the fucking Offspring. I was like, what the fuck? No, he's got Osprey. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. He's got Osprey and Black Flag.
I was like, what the fuck? Well, that venue they're using, I've seen bands play on the outside part of there before. I saw the Melvins play there.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Really? Dude, I love the Melvins. So let's transition real quick, man. Let's get a little dig deep and get tight. Cut loose and strut your stuff. If you know what famous skating movie that's from. Anyways, let's get into some of your musical shit, man, because you're talking the Melvins, dude, and I love the Melvins. And I know when we were, sending sex to each other, I mean text, you were telling me how you're a big, like, doom metal guy. Dude, I got to hang out with fucking Pentagram and Bobby Liebling up here in Chicago a couple years ago. I don't know if you're in.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And Bobby, dude, he was like scared of me. Like, he got out of the bus and I'm sitting there and, I wasn't being a super mark or anything, but I was just like, hey, Bobby, can I get a picture with you? And that was it. And he was like, yeah, but he was like, oh, weird, dude. You look like an old Beavis or something, a really old Beavis with long hair. And he just had his big ass brush in his hand and,
you gotta think that guy, after that documentary came out too, that kind of like brought them back into like a spotlight of sorts too. So it kind of probably had to be weird for bands like that.
Oh, and he had been living off of fucking like methamphetamines and crack for like 20 years,
Yeah.
You seen the movie? Come on, not even Fuel or Somo could resurrect that motherfucker. He was still falling off. But dude,
I know.
Looking
it's
at
like
him,
when you go to the conventions, like the wrestling conventions, you see some of the old timers sitting in their booths. You're just kind of like, God, man, this is just fucking sad. Like, come on, man. Like,
some of them are still good though. I just had Tito Santana on. I think it was the first episode of this year, and he still looks in good shape for being in his 60s.
He is awesome. The very first time, it wasn't even a wrestling convention. I was at like a Comic-Con thing they were doing down in Miami. Because we were just down there, and I was like, oh, this is going on. So we went over there, and they had a couple wrestlers set up, and he was one of them. And nobody, it was at a Comic-Con, so there wasn't like a big need for like meeting wrestlers. I think Paige was there, and that was like the big like draw. Yeah. Her and Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
But like Tito was sitting there, and I just went over and like talked to him for a little while. He didn't like, I didn't get a picture with him. I didn't buy anything really. I just kind of talked to him and what was going on. He was talking about his normal life and how he's a teacher and stuff.
Football. And, loves his football.
It was just more talking about his students and stuff. He didn't really want to talk about wrestling and stuff. And it was cool to like get that. But then like, sometimes you hear these stories about like people just freaking out. And same thing happens like, in the music world too. I always say that like, someday I'd like to put out like a fucking book where everybody could tell their stories about like, you idolize, this artist or musician or somebody, and then
Don't
you
meet
meet them
your
and they just
heroes.
become they're the biggest assholes. Like, and call it when your idols are assholes.
Fallen idols. There you go.
Yeah, and you just hear these horror stories about like this sucks, because I never played in big bands and stuff, but like I always thought that it was really shitty of people to like just shun down people who come up to you and just like all they want to do is like talk to you, know, and about you and what you're into. It's like, if you can't handle that shit, then don't be in the entertainment business.
I thought some of that back in the day, our old band Decrypt, when we we played in, I think it was Houston or somewhere, but we were playing with Dying Fetus. John Gallagher, the lead guitarist, singer, basically the writing creative force. He had a table next to us, man. He was just kind of a dick. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was just trying to say, hey, what's up, man? Like, hey, a big influence, like, really dig you, and that's it. I ain't trying to suck you off or anything. Come on, guy. Like, come on, people, get over yourself.
We set up. We were graciously offered a match at a convention in North Carolina, called Wrestlecade, which was interesting because we called this Metalcade.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, do you want to defend Fest Wrestling? Want to defend the tag belts up here? And we're like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And they're like, beyond that, they're like, hey, well, you can table for free for the weekend. Greatest companies putting that thing on, great people. So we set up, and I just, we're not big shit. Fest Wrestling isn't, but there was some fans in North Carolina who, because there's a company called PWX in North Carolina who puts our stuff out and we share, they bring Fest Wrestling people up a lot. There was people that were stoked, and through High Spots Network wanted to come and talk and everything. We were basically giving merch away pretty much, like buttons and pins and
koozies, that's the shit you got to stickers, all that.
We were drinking beers with people, having a good time, like just when fans want to talk about wrestling, if they want to talk about old ECW or they want to talk about old NWA or bullshit like that, I'd talk to them, and then I'd listen to not to name names of, but then listen to like some other like people that were set up at tables who were obviously there to get charged the $20-$30 for their photo, or the people that like pay those people to come in and sit at their table who don't do anything but kind of middleman tabling, and let them and listen to them talk shit about like, oh, did you fucking listen to that fucking Mark come over here and try to suck your cock and suck your dick, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, fuck that fucking nerd. But you know what? I got his fucking $100, blah, 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 pussy, shit like that. And I'm just like,
Jesus Christ,
this is fucking disgusting. This is gross. Like,
yeah.
How do you guys live with yourselves? Like, it just really turned me off.
That's why
so I was like,
there.
it was like on a positive note, there was all these nice people that were just there and stoked on wrestling and stoked to see these old fucking bags of bones again. But then to fucking hear them fucking just run their mouth and talk shit about people behind their back, it just.
Is there anybody you want to? Do you want to drop a name you want to shoot?
No. It's not worth it. No. People will know on their own, and I'd hate to ruin somebody who like walked away from that experience to be like, oh my God, I got to meet blah blah blah, to know that secretly they were a jerk. But it's a shameful thing, and I've seen that happen with like, big, huge bands sometimes too. Like,
who was the
I
worst
fucking
band
toured
you ever
and
met?
was on Warped Tour for like years doing like merch for like Less Than Jake, right? Good buddies of mine.
I remember them. Yeah.
And this was like what I did as my side gig in college. In the summers I would go out on Warped Tour with them, have a fucking great time. It's 21, 22, 23, 24, it was
Living
great.
the life.
But then you'd hear like some of these fucking dicks that would be on that tour, because Warped Tour was really bad about always bringing in like the one flash in the pan band who was like from like the heavy kind of like butt rock scene,
The
and you
cock
just
rock?
hear
Stupid.
you just hear them like run their mouth and talk shit and just be dicks. And I was like, you're not really part of this at all. Like, why are you here? Like, you don't want to be here.
Yeah, booking got out of
and
control.
Just the way they would treat fans and treat other bands and stuff, where back in the day in those times, Warped Tour was like, punk rock was still kind of like on the fringe in a lot of ways. So it was awesome that everybody could pull their forces together to be on this one tour and have enough people there to see them play.
I think the last Warped Tour I went to was like 2001, which is still like late for, Warped Tour. I didn't go there was a lot of years I missed.
The last one we went to was when they came through Florida. Against Me was on it because they're a Gainesville band,
Yeah.
or buds, and Joan Jett was on it.
Nice.
And so we were like all like, oh shit, we get to go see Joan Jett.
Yeah.
But yeah, it changed a lot from when I was on it. But that's
when I went. I think it was headlined by 311. They just put out From Chaos at that time, and then I believe it was Misfits with Michael Graves. I think Rollins' band was on there. Fucking yeah, I know. Hey, there's a couple songs I like, and it took me years to get
There's some good songs on there. I just get about Michael Graves.
Yeah, Saturday Night.
But I'd also say the same time. I'd also go about Danzig too. It's like I want to listen to him, but I don't want to be anywhere near that motherfucker.
No, he's a fucking dick. It is what it is. But the dude's music. I mean, come on, Misfits, Sam Hain.
Oh,
Danzig.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those bands. Like,
exactly.
When in the early 90s, when my buddy came back from visiting his cousin in West Virginia, and he rolled in with these LPs, and fucking, Danzig and Misfits were one of the first 2 out of the 10 punk records I ever heard.
Fuck yeah, bro. That's where it's
at. I wouldn't be here, but at the same time we were listening to that, and we were also listening to Minor Threat and Fugazi. So it was weird, like hybrids of like messages being sent to us.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, it all musically has its place. I'm very like versatile when it comes to shit, even within genres. I mean, I'm all over the place, really musically. But yeah, dude, like early punk, man, that shit. Like, what really got me into punk was fucking Nirvana. I'm 37.
Oh yeah.
So back when I remember when Nevermind dropped, it was like holy shit. And then a couple months later, I'm in Michigan or somewhere, and I at this record store where they still had tapes, tapes were still, it was like a tape world or something when those were in the malls. So I'm really dating myself, but I saw Bleach and I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm a kid from the Midwest at that time. Nevermind just blew up. Nobody knew what the fuck Bleach was. Did they just put out a new album? I was probably like 9, and I got that stuff and checked it out, and I was just like, holy shit, I was blown away. So
because of Bleach, it opens you up to like Sub Pop records.
Dude,
you're like, well, what the fuck is Sub Pop records? And you start listening, you're like,
and then
holy shit,
what the fuck is Black
early
Flag?
Soundgarden on here,
early
and all kinds of other shit,
dude. I mean, you name it. These bands, Tad. I love fucking Tad.
Oh yeah.
And the Meat Puppets. The Meat Puppets to me are like one of the most underrated bands. Like those first 5 albums are just like.
Or even going back to what we were originally talking about. We're talking about Melvins. I mean, it's just,
dude.
It's one of those things, man. Like it just opens up. Same with like wrestling, you go and you see like Leo Rush, you look at him and he's on up there, in WWE Spotlight or Shotzi Blackheart or something. You go on YouTube, you start looking it up, you're going to see a match of theirs in Fest Wrestling.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, what the fuck? Dude, oh shit. It's just like, showcasing, everybody starts somewhere,
and it's good for you guys too.
Nobody just automatically just goes bloom and they're like on a major label.
Well, look at the rub, like guys like Matty Nix up in Freelance, and they have gotten from having guys come through like what's his nuts in WWE. God damn it, it's escaping me. On SmackDown,
who was on Freelance?
Yeah. He works with like the Freelance Academy.
Mustafa Ali.
I don't know why that escaped me, but they did like a WWE documentary on him, and it like, dude, Freelance. What if you get the call one day and it's like, hey, we got Shotzi or we got whoever, and we're doing a documentary and we're going to talk about this part of their career or whatever. They're calling you saying, hey, let me license your footage, or do you want to say something?
WWE did.
Really?
It was for Heidi Lovelace when she.
There you go.
For Ruby Riott.
Yeah,
and I asked WWE. This is the only thing I'm going to talk about WWE. This is hilarious. Mm-hmm. We're a small indie company.
Yeah.
We pay people decently what we can pay them. We're basically losing money on every fucking show we're putting out.
Exactly.
So we're doing 3 camera angle. It's not fucking bullshit GoPro stuff. It's nice cameras. I'm paying somebody, Christian Well, to do it. He's putting color grading on it. We have commentary on stuff. And they're like, hey, we really want to use some of your footage. Would it be cool to use it for this documentary? And we're like, yeah, it'd be awesome. I was like, it'd be really cool is if you could give us like $100 or something for it.
They probably really laughed at you guys. Like, oh yeah, here's $100, you assholes.
And they were like, well, we really don't have the budget for anything for this, but it'd be good exposure for you.
What?
And I'm like, man, I understand, but how do you not have $100 to like offer us? Like, well, it'd be really good exposure. And I was like, well, look, how about this?
They're working you, man.
WWE is coming to the University of Florida.
Yeah.
It's like a house show here. Why don't you throw us some tickets for that? And well, I got to check on some stuff. I'll let you know. And it was like literally like the fucking week before they were like, all right, here's a set of tickets for you. And it was cool that they gave it to us, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it probably did help us, but did anybody watching that documentary actually like buy a shirt from us or be able to come attend one of our shows?
Right.
Did directly like really help us in any way? I don't know, but it'd be like, come on, man.
Well, that whole
$100 to
situation,
WWE is like me giving somebody a fucking dollar on the street.
You want to know what would have been way more funny if you, what if you were an investor? Like, hey, man, I got stocks in this company. I know what you guys got, like, come on. Because, dude, bro, come on, Tony. They're fucking working. Yeah, those are paid motherfucking business snakes, man. They are so corporate. That's why their product suffers, because it's so manufactured, dude. You got your Coke and Pepsi, and then you got your crafts.
It still opens the door to people to get back into wrestling.
Oh,
it
does totally. Yeah, and yeah. I mean, fuck it. We all love it. We love it, but when it's sometimes
it's just like I can't get mad at you, the 9-year-old you kid who didn't know what Bleach was, but you knew what Nirvana was. It was on a major label.
Exactly.
It's like this. It's the same shit.
Exactly.
Eventually the doors open. Eventually your mind opens. Eventually you get exposed to something.
Yeah.
And if you don't, there's still nothing wrong with that too, man. Like I don't ever get mad at somebody like that's like, oh, dude, I only watch WWE. And I'm like, good. You have the fucking time. Like, I don't even fucking have the time to watch any of this shit anymore. Right. It's too much.
Exactly.
Like, literally, like, once in a while, I'd be like, we went to AEW in Jacksonville, and it was fucking great. We had a great time, me and some buddies. We went to the brewery beforehand, which is right around the corner. You're right there by the Jaguar Stadium. The show was fucking hot. It was awesome.
It was great.
The next week, I watched AEW, and then, I've caught a match or two since then. It's just like, you work all the damn time. Yep. It's hard to put the time in to watch all the wrestling because there's so much. I mean, I still have to watch like our show to get it edited and done. So.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. I mean, that's like, good thing I get to pass this along to Sredden after we're done, or shout out to him, our producer, and then he goes through it. But I mean, he does a good job, man. He kicks out the jams and we fucking rip it hard, and it sounds good. But man, I would not. Yeah, that's just fucking horrible. It's just so funny too how those guys are telling you, we can't give you $100. I can't get over that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it wasn't like I asked for a lot.
No, I thought they would laugh at you and throw you like 500 or something ridiculous, But no, I mean, when you got money like that, I guess you gotta fucking secure it.
If you do get a chance, though, watch the little mini doc they did on her, because the documentary is great, and Ruby Riott, we'll just say Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
It was one of the sweetest, awesomest people like to work with. She even came back, and secretly went to one of our shows after, she had already signed to come back.
I saw her.
Everybody.
I saw her, bro, and Matt Cross up here for Fear and Misfits.
Oh, of course. Matt's like one of our good buds. He always comes to Fest Wrestling when he can.
He's done.
And he, like, during the music festival when we do Fest, because he's like the punkest wrestler there is.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Cannon's punk, but Matt Cross is the more diehard of them all.
Oh,
but
for sure.
by like Sunday, he's hoarse. He can't talk because he's been singing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I love them all to death, and it's awesome. We have some wrestlers that wrestle for us and are walks in our circle that love truly like the music part that we do as well. And then some of them, they're just like, I don't get that shit at all, but we love the freedom you guys give us as wrestlers. And we love the fact that you guys do weird, wacky, fun stuff. You're not pretentious, because I always look at what we do as like, we're just trying to give the talent the best opportunity to put on the best fun show for the fans. Like I always try to, like, as silly as it sounds, like I want to put on a show that I want to go see. Like we don't have the opportunity to do television, so why go deep in all this storyline stuff?
Yeah.
It's like, you get an opportunity to do this once in a blue moon, put on the most fun, the fastest paced, the wildest, craziest show you can for the attendees, and just let them walk away stoked and tell other people. That's the best thing that can happen from our show.
Yeah, it's supernatural too. I mean, obviously the promotion shit, you know, you got to have that. You got to have internet presence and all that. But like even in doing this show, like it makes me sick sometimes how it's just like grind. You got to fucking talk about it, do all. So when it's old school like that, just word of mouth, you know, DIY, like that's what's really cool, dude. Just that natural growth, you know?
Yeah, I mean, our shows here in town, like we get like 250, and that's like for me amazing that there's that many people that want to go see wrestling in Gainesville, Florida.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're still a small little town in the middle of a fucking giant university. Like if the university wasn't here, I don't even know what this town would be.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of college towns up around my way too, man. I got Valparaiso University. I'm in Northwest Indiana, and then of course, you know, Chicago and all that. And man,
Yeah.
if some of these places, it's like you said, if they didn't have schools, and matter of fact, Valpo, the university, when I was a kid, they used WWF, not E. All you niños and niñas out there. They used to run some dope ass house shows, dude. I'm talking like I seen Undertaker versus Ultimate Warrior in a body bag match. You know, like
that's
the
fun.
caliber of like talent they had, and then like they did them up until about the mid 2000s, and they still had, you know, my buddy was meeting John Cena, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit right before he passed. Well, both him and Eddie, just crazy shit, and they stopped running. I don't know.
Yeah, I never growing up as a kid, you know, I grew up like my older brother just got out of like the Marine Corps. He was way into wrestling, and I'm talking like I was like 8, you know.
Yeah.
And this was like in the heyday of like WWE Saturday Night's Main Event being on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the cartoon was out, everything. It was like Hogan Mania going on.
Yeah.
Like it was like all I wanted to do was see WWE. I'm renting the VHSs from the video store because that's the only way to watch it. But that never came through.
Mhm.
What we would get was fucking NWA.
Yeah,
before
brother.
WCW.
Talk to me
So
about
he would
Power.
take me out to the Roanoke Civic Center to see NWA, and we'd watch that shit every Saturday. Fucking Gordon Sully and all them.
Yeah.
Like, and then I would go once a month. We would go see NWA, and that was some of the most badass, fucking Southern brawling, crazy
Fuck yeah.
shit.
Blood.
And I think that's why I fell in love with that. And then when WCW started fading out and getting real weak, about the time I was in middle school, I just kind of gave up on wrestling. You know, Attitude Era hadn't hit yet, and I was kind of like, this fucking all this sucks. I'm out. I had no buds to watch wrestling with. So I just kind of stopped. And then in college, like a kid gave me, like I used to work for the college radio station, and there was this weird kid, Jeff, who was like a fucking like rave DJ guy. And he's like, hey man, I heard you were into wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, man, I used to go see Dusty and Road Warriors, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express,
Fuck
like
yeah.
Luger, all that fun shit. You know? And I was like, I just got born. He goes, check this out. And he gave me a VHS copy of fucking ECW.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Then it was changed. And I went back to like the house, popped it in, had a bunch of roommates. We were all like drinking 40s, watching that. And then we were hooked. And so we like, just like, how do we get more tapes? And we started doing tape trade shit.
Yeah.
And then we found out like, fuck it. Let's just go to the ECW arena, man. Let's do it. But you couldn't buy tickets online.
Right.
So we had to call this guy who is in this punk band in Philly and be like, hey man, will you go down to this like comic book store and buy us tickets to this wrestling show? And he's like, hold on, what? You want to come up to Philly to see wrestling? And we're like, yeah, we got to go see this thing. He's like, well, where are they doing it at? And we're like, it's at this thing called the ECW Arena. And he's like, what the fuck is that? And we're like, I don't know. It's this address. And he goes, oh shit, that's in a sketchy ass fucking part of town, dude. That's like under a bridge.
Yeah.
And we're like, we got to go, man. Can you just buy us the tickets? I mean, we'll mail you the money. And so we like straight up just met him, gave him the cash. We went and saw the show, fucking, and he was right. We were scared to death, man. We were like, I remember I was 21. I think my buddy was like 20, maybe 19. And we went up, just the two of us, and we were roommates. And then we drove back after the show with like Sandman shirt, Sabu shirt, fucking Dudley Boys shirt, like as many cassette tapes as we could fucking afford. And we just rolled back and like woke all the guys up in the house. And we're just like, we're watching this shit, motherfuckers. And, you know, you know, and then it just became like that tradition, you know, those are the times, you know. And so I feel like this is that third wave for me and a lot of other
Yeah,
people for
I
wrestling
agree.
again.
I agree full-heartedly, man. I'm always, that's another thing I'm always preaching, spewing it forth upon the listeners, if you will. Dude, it is the third pop I've experienced in my life. You know, the 80s Hogan era, then the mid-90s with Hogan and the Attitude Era, because let's face it, Hogan turning heel is what really pops shit off, you know?
Oh yeah.
And probably, dude, in the 90s, I was shout out to my boy Jeremy Tillema, ref for Black Label Pro. We were just talking about this on the phone the other day. Like, in a generation or a decade, however you want to group it in a time way, to have the number one babyface in the whole industry in the world and the number one heel to be that at the same time is crazy, dude. I mean, that's hard to fucking pull off, and that was, you'll never have something like that again. Like, I think everybody's like, well, if Cena turned heel, that would be shocking. Like, yeah, maybe, you know. But
If he would have done it a while back, but now I don't think so, because now he's just,
Hogan
he's like a
was
TV
just
movie
so
star and
big.
stuff now. It's like a different thing.
And it's a different time, different day, different era. So I don't think it works as much as that Hogan thing worked. Like, that was headline news.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge.
Everywhere,
it was insane.
dude. Like, Hulk
And
Hogan
that's
says,
why we were like pretty much watching WCW was because of that. Like, we were doing Nitro parties.
Yeah,
we were
brother.
watching the Attitude Era. Like, honestly, I got into the Attitude Era after it had already started. Like, I had to go back and get back into it just because of that, And it's a great time to be a fan of wrestling right now, and it's a great time to be involved as a indie star in wrestling.
Yep.
There's more opportunities right now, so that's why I feel like all the talent that's out there should take the bull by the horns, should be out there hustling, working it, doing it, working hard, and not taking it for granted. There's going to be people that are going to do that and feel like everything should be handed to them. Like, oh man, I've been in this business, blah, 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 blah. And I should, it's like, well, I mean, maybe there's a reason you've been in it for this long and nothing's really happened.
Shut up and put up.
Like, I don't know, man. But I'd rather throw my support behind somebody like Effy, who's like busting their ass, and
I saw him versus
treating
Nick Gage.
everybody right and like winning over crowds left and right, or like Dan Hausen right now, who's like just like creating a character out of nothing and it's working.
Matt Hardy's even acknowledging that on Twitter. He's like, Dan Hausen, like, this guy's building his character. He's working hard. Much respect, like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of people, there's the same thing. Like, look at Joey Ryan. I mean, he did the same thing in a lot of ways.
And now he's like the most bipolar, or not bipolar, but polarizing figure in wrestling right now, because you either fucking love him or you hate him. I feel like there's really no in between.
He always gets a love when he comes to our world.
Well, as he should. I love him, dude. I love Joey Ryan. He was a great dude. I've been watching him since way before the dick spot, as a lot of people have. And I thought once he did it, I was like, damn, good for him. Because that dude, he is not going to have to take a bump, as many as he should if he didn't have the dick spot, like, come on.
He's always been awesome for us. And he's always been fun to work with. He helps everybody out a lot too, and
he's fucking handsome.
He's also really good to the fans, and that's what's awesome. Like, he's there to like meet with everybody and to hang out and talk and stuff, and that goes a long way.
It does. It does. Like, when I met him in South Bend last year for Black Label's Players Brawl, he was dope. I was like, hey, I'm Justin with Juice Pro Wrestling. He said, oh yeah, I know who you are. Like, I always see you, doing your thing and retweeting and doing all this shit. And I'm like, yeah, man, trying to help you guys out. But he was very cool, man. Talked to me about that documentary that he had made, and
I got to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet either. I haven't seen the Kenny Omega one either. I wanted to check that one out. But I will real quick ask you if you have ever seen. It's an old spoof. It's Andy Kaufman and Classy Freddie Blassie. It's like My Breakfast with Blassie.
No,
it's a spoof on.
I always saw the Kaufman stuff where it was like the documentary, and then when he did the bit with like,
dude,
who was it? Was it?
Oh, Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, it's the King. Yeah, that's what it was.
But dude, this shit with Blassie, it reminds me. It's like almost you could see maybe where Tim and Eric might have taken some shit from this. Like, there's some very uncomfortable moments in humor, and you question if what you're watching is this really real? Is this really a parody? Like, Blassie is great in it, dude. He's just straight up like dick, like heel guy. But it's just him and Andy Kaufman's sitting there having breakfast, and all this weird shit kind of happens to him in the process.
It's got to be on YouTube somewhere. I got to look it up.
Dude, you have to watch it. There's this thing called Tubi. So I don't know if you game or whatever, but you could probably get it on anything, Tubi.com or some shit, but it's Tubi. Dude, it's like Netflix, but way better. I don't know if you're in like horror or anything. Their horror section is amazing. Like, I'm busting nuts. All the Return to Living Dead.
Up, I worked at a mom and pop video store from when I was 13 till I was 18, and pretty much my mom let me watch anything as long as it didn't show boobs.
Oh, but there was
like,
so many.
She didn't care like what weird massacre horror shit I saw. You know.
What's some of your favorite horror flicks?
I'll tell you, the one that scared me the most growing up as a kid was the very, very first Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. I think not only because of the storyline of it and everything, but I was like a young kid, but like the film quality of it, and then watching it on VHS, and then not having like really good television sets too. You really don't ever get to see Krueger. No. And so I think that's the scariest fucking shit about it.
Yeah. It's really eerie.
Hellraiser, I think still like, it was like really bothered me a lot. Yeah. You know, everybody always says Exorcist. I mean, that's like one of that and The Shining are most psychological stuff.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones that a lot of people haven't seen that I like, and it involves a little heavy metal too, is The Gate.
The Gate. I've seen. The Gate's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's about these fucking kids. Their parents leave, and they fucking the next door neighbor's buddy comes over with this metal record, and they play it fucking like backwards. You know, and it opens up a fucking portal to hell in their backyard, and all these like little claymation things. Because I always grew up like I loved watching like those old like fucking Sinbad movies where they had all the claymation monsters.
Oh, or, like Jason and the Argonauts, right?
Huh?
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But this like uses that same like I guess effects like claymation little creatures, and so they're like all this weird ass fucking shit. But I went to go watch it the other night. I was like actually drunk talking to an Uber driver about horror movies, and came home to watch it, and it was like, you can buy it on Amazon for this much, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go find the DVD somewhere and buy it. I just need to watch this again.
I love, dude. My favorite thing is like hunting. I'm always like, I'll go to a dollar store and, dude, have you ever seen Dead Girl?
No, I've never seen Dead Girl.
It's a weird take on like a zombie movie, dude. It's like these dudes find this young woman who's like dead, but she's a zombie. They just like, and they start like raping her and shit. It's like, it's weird. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. It'll fuck with you mentally, but there's some little bit of humor injected into it. It's just weird.
Was it like 80s or
no,
90s?
Dude, this was man, I want to say the mid 2000s.
Oh, this isn't that old.
No, it's not old. It's maybe 10 years old at this point. Dude, it's a really fucked up movie, but it's cool when you find like, dude, because the zombie genre is so fucked up. You have to do fucked up shit like that to have something that's kind of interesting, you know?
I guess like a different take on the zombie thing.
Yeah, and it was these degenerates, like these punk ass kids that were like, you know, they had her tied up and they didn't know she was a zombie because she's like freshly dead or whatever. So doing all this dastardly shit, you know, like.
I was gonna talk more like Puppet Master and stuff.
Dude, I love Puppet Master. You want to talk about Full Moon Entertainment and like Charles Band?
Full Moon Entertainment, man. Anything new that would come out on Full Moon, I would just be like, what is this? We gotta watch it.
Not Evil Bong. Come on.
That has its characteristics too, man. Yeah. It's not that bad.
Until they made really like 6 of them.
It's not even B movie, it's C movie.
Yeah. I like Puppet Master though. I like Demonic Toys. Dollman versus Demonic Toys. There's some good shit on them. I've been watching Puppet Master since I was a little kid, dude. All those are great.
I can't believe you're probably the only other person that's not worked at a video store that knows about Full Moon Entertainment, I think.
Oh man, there was a place out here when I was a kid called Movie Gallery, and it was like your Blockbuster or whatever, and we had Blockbuster too, but Movie Gallery was the place where, dude, I was a young ass kid and I found like all the best like 80s horror movies, like I Evil Dead, all of those I found through there, Dead Alive, Faces of Death.
I remember trying to go into the theater to see Faces of Death, me and my buddies, and like we totally like tried to like dress older. I don't even know what that means. And we bought the tickets, and then when we went to go in, they checked our tickets, I think, and they just gave us the boot. We didn't even get to go in. to see it when they did like a theater version of it. But I think it was out on VHS before then.
Yeah, it was.
I remember we had to like sell it at the store. I worked for Video Vision, which was like these two guys, Doug and Ron, owned it, and they used to work for Norfolk Southern Railroad. And then like in their mid-30s, they both got back injuries. So they took that money and opened a video store before Blockbuster. So those two characters, man, like they always had really good taste in movies, but they also had like weird sections in the store to be like where Faces of Death would be. And like, you'd have strange people come in. We also had an art room in the back too.
Nice. Super.
Where the art films were.
Yeah, the like today's Irreversible or whatever. You ever seen that?
No, it was the porn room.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
they just called it. They just said above it. It said art films.
Yeah.
Above the door, and so it had like a little curtain, and then like people would go back there and rent, and you could always rent those for like more money than like any other tape, because like especially in like the weird country like Bible Belt area where I grew up, that shit was like very on the sly.
Oh,
then so when I was working there in high school, I would use that against me. I was like a punk and stuff in high school, and like there'd be like the really bitchy like Christian girl in like your science class who was just kind of a jerk all the time. Yeah, and I would just print out her dad's like rental history and just leave it on her desk.
Dude, fucking final thoughts. Dude, ultimate burn.
Here you go. Just in case you didn't know, this is what your dad's really into, bud.
Oh, man. I like that. Yeah, video stores aren't the same. There's some around. There's a Family Video around here, and they're a pretty big chain. They're all right, but they have an adult section, too. And I'm like, do you really need an adult film section today in your video rental store? Do you even really need a video rental store? I mean, but dude, porn is so everywhere.
It's just like streaming them. But I mean, also I remember like, being a kid, I'd also like that video store had a wrestling section.
Oh yeah.
And it was all like, it was all there. And so you'd rent it. And it also had like a fucking music section. It was all like concert films and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And they would have like a Headbangers Ball, like best of Headbangers Ball, and you'd rent that, and all it was like live interviews and videos of people and stuff.
And there was like heavy metal video or some shit. I got an old one from
that was what it was. Heavy metal video. It wasn't Headbangers Ball.
I got one that had like Nirvana on it and Meat Puppets and I think like Megadeth or some shit.
I think I have one that has like Suicidal and Faith No More on it.
There you go. All about the Suicidal, man.
Oh yeah, fucking. I'd done some weird shows with Suicidal when I was doing the Less Than Jake days. So I also did a whole tour with Body Count, so that was kind of fun. Just to have a daily interaction with Ice-T in his Body Count days.
You ever heard the 6 Feet Under song he did? You know what 6 Feet Under is? Chris Barnes from Cannibal Corpse, the original singer.
Okay. Dude, didn't somebody from Cannibal Corpse just pass away this week?
No.
No, it wasn't Cannibal
drummer
Corpse.
From
it was
Death.
Fucking
Death and
COC.
Cynic. Oh, yeah. Yep. Drummer.
Yeah, that's sad.
Dude, there's been a lot of musical deaths. Yeah, Neil Peart go out, dude. There a couple guys in the death metal scene, like this dude who played drum. It's a lot of drummers too, and that's really fucking weird now that I think about it. But yeah, a guy from Cynic.
Also being a rock and roll and metal scene guy, like those time periods was hard living. It's like being like an old wrestler. It was hard living on a lot of those motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, dude. Fucking eating
they
like
took
shit,
a lot of
doing
different
a lot
shortcuts
of
to like stay happy and alive and get through some shit. And so, it catches up with you.
Yeah, man. Rock and roll never dies, but you do. Oh, hey, Tony, man. So, dude, we're going to have to fucking have you back on again, dude. Like, because I enjoyed talking to you, and obviously there's a lot there that we can just
Dude, what you should do is you should have Tony Foresta from Municipal Waste on so y'all can just talk about the metal side of Metalcade.
Dude, I'm down. Hook it up, brother.
Yeah, man.
Let's do it, man.
I'll give him your contact, and I'll tell him.
Tell him to check out Handsome Prick,
set
man.
it up.
They played, I'm trying to think, was it them? Because when we played Full Terror Assault, this is a couple of years ago with Handsome Prick, I believe Obituary, I want to say it was Municipal, but it might have been Iron Reagan. I don't know. It was one of them. They're in like fucking 3 different bands, so it makes it hard to remember.
Correct.
Who it was.
Correct. Well, then you also got like all their spin-off things, which we're also going to be doing like an after party for Metalcade. I forgot to plug this.
Plug it.
At this like at the Crowbar in Ybor on the 4th at that night. And there's going to be some other members of Municipal Waste, other bands performing.
Ooh.
I don't know if we'll have the announcement out before then, but just keep an eye out, because that'll be like a really intimate, crazy thrash fucking
Look at
metal
you, Tony,
party.
tickling my fancy. How dare you? I do declare,
Well, I would say
Mr.
it, but I just don't know. I don't want to like say anything, and then Foresta gets all pissed at me, like, "Dude, why'd you say something on that fucking podcast?"
Nah, man, because it's the most fucking metal podcast to say it on. You know, we cover all bases, just like you guys.
That's why he's got to come back to talk about it. So.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah,
so we'll set shit up
for sure.
Hey, Tony, tell everybody where they can find Fest Wrestling.
FestWrestling.com, and then on YouTube, Fest Wrestling. And then check out Pivot Share, just for us and all things wrestling. I mean, it's just pretty awesome. If you look at Pivot Share, I think it's just pivotshare.com. You can search wrestling on there, and there's just so many awesome promotions. And pretty much like you just pick whichever one you want to support and give them your $5 a month. I think ours has a 30-day free trial or some kind of free trial. But yeah, I mean, anything. I mean, just go on YouTube and explore and check out us, check out all kinds of wrestling and music and art and stuff. With the internet, the world's your oyster, man. You can just go and listen and watch and do whatever you want. It's a great time to be interested in being in creativity right now.
That is very correct. As my boy Chris Farley would like to say, that is correct. Well, Tony, I'd like to thank you once again for coming on the show, dude. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, man, to hang out, and wish you were going to be down in Tampa.
Yeah.
So, but good luck, man. You said you're having a kid. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hope everything goes well, and hope you raise a little rager.
Oh yeah.
Time.
It'll be the third rager, so you know.
Oh, well, third time's a charm.
Making them babies. All right. Well, thanks, Tony, for coming on the show, and thank you all for listening and continuing to support the Juice Pro Wrestling Podcast. You know where to find us. We're everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Every podcasting platform, YouTube. We're there. And until next time, we gotta wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up.
Oh yeah, I'm so fucking wet for Fest Wrestling. It's getting me so excited. Everybody, tune
You gonna do sex to me?